I'll now hand it over to our Bristol alumni, Andrew, who participated both in EEC Service Learning and Internship Program. Andrew, thank you for being with us today. Would you mind starting off with your introduction?
Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Andrew Lacature. I graduated from Bristol Community College in 2019 with a degree in business administration. Currently, I'm enrolled at the University of Nebraska in Omaha, and I'll be graduating this summer with a bachelor's in multidisciplinary studies. Recently, I was also hired by the university to start as an admissions associate within the undergraduate department.
Oh, great, thank you. And as I mentioned, you participated in both EEC Service Learning and Internship Program. Let's start off by talking about service learning. Can you tell viewers what class you were enrolled in that had that service learning component, and what did your service project entail?
Yeah, definitely. So the class I had for service learning was a Principles of Marketing class with Professor Jen Deckers. We were introduced to a nonprofit called Phenom, which stands for the Public Higher Education Network of Massachusetts. Now, Phenom is a group that focuses on the issues surrounding funding for higher education, advocating for a budget that substantially increases funding for institutions such as a Bristol or UMass Dartmouth, any state institution really. They also really pushed for higher education to be available to everyone. Having an increase of resources would ensure that underrepresented youth and adults have access to public institutions. Probably the largest tenet that guided this organization was affordability. Student debt from public universities and community colleges should be kept in check, and you should not have to pay the cost of a private school just to attend a state university. So in this Principles of Marketing class, it included many programs. It's useful to learn those fundamentals, certainly. Concepts like determining target markets for organizations, deciding on appropriate services for clients, and knowing where marketing can fit best into an organization. These are all things that I still use today in my professional career. And because the class was in marketing, we were guided to increase this organization's public visibility. So we worked in groups to really find where average students could get on board with the message that Phenom was trying to get out. This nonprofit was able to increase their presence on campus and are still large advocates for these important issues today.
Sounds like a great project, and I'm sure it helped increase, by doing a project like this, I'm sure it helped increase the relevance of the content that you were learning in the class. By doing this type of service project, what do you feel were some of the biggest benefits?
So one of the largest benefits was that we could just provide a greater awareness of these issues. Students attending a public college might not have even been aware that student debt for public institutions has been steadily rising over the last 20 years or so. Now, this issue of higher education and debt is still very far from getting solved. Even in Massachusetts, where we have some of the best public and private universities, there's a lot of progress to be made. But the movement is there ultimately. And you see it with Massachusetts legislators knowing that there's an issue with student debt and trying to see what they can do both in Congress and at the State House. It's a complicated issue though. Higher education, especially at community colleges, is an extremely vital part of our society. The value of this project was that more students on campus were aware of these issues. Some students even joined the organization and helped to organize future events. Any student or organization would be wise to invest time and effort into service learning. There's simply nothing like it on campus.
Right, and knowing the organization's mission too, and just by nature of you doing the research for your service project, I'm sure was beneficial to you as well. Just keeping you informed as a college student in terms of the types of information that they were putting out there. So what led you to enroll in a class with the service learning component?
So Introduction to Marketing or Principles of Marketing was a required class for me as a business major. I was lucky enough to be placed into Professor Deckard's class, not only because of that service learning component, but because she's a fantastic teacher as well. It was nice to have a course where there was some outside factor that you could relate concepts to, make it really tie in, help you learn a lot better, definitely.
And what transferable skills would you say that you gained from doing your service project? And transferable skills are things like communication, teamwork, leadership.
Yeah, definitely. So I would say communication and teamwork were definitely two things I improved on greatly because of this project. When you're in a team setting with classmates, having those concrete goals, made it a lot easier to see them through. Also gained a better understanding of marketing outreach and everything that goes into public awareness for anything. So with my service project, we really had to ensure as a group that we communicated effectively during class and were diligent enough to continuously check in on that progress. Our team was able to complete our project successfully by effectively communicating with one another. We developed a strong plan of action that helped Phenom grow awareness on campus. And these are all definitely still skills that I use today in the workplace and during school projects.
Yeah, and these skills that you mentioned of communication, teamwork, often sometimes when we hear them, they can sound simple, but often when we try to apply them or put them into practice, it can be challenging, and is why they're so highly valued in the workplace. Can you give us examples of how you're applying these skills now, either in your work or education?
Yeah, definitely. So recently I was hired by the undergraduate admissions department after working there for about a year as a work study. I believe that effective, clear, concise communication with my coworkers really helped to make this a possibility. I also completed a group project probably about 2 weeks ago in my clinical psychology class. A lot of these soft skills that I use during service learning helped me to be an effective team member today.
Thank you for sharing your experience about service learning. So now, as mentioned, you also participated in EEC's internship program. So can you tell viewers where you did your internship and what did you do?
Yeah, definitely. So I completed my internship at a tax preparation service in Swansea called Norman Graham. So there, under the guidance of probably 20 or so tax preparers and CPAs, I packaged completed tax forms for clients. So I'd go through the system, check to make sure final numbers matched up to what was printed on the forms. And tax season is obviously, very busy time for this profession. So I was lucky to be able to see that firsthand.
What were the biggest benefits in terms of skills gained or professional development from doing the internship experience?
Yeah, so I'd say some of the biggest benefits, I really learned how to be a more effective communicator in the workplace. My critical thinking was improved because you really had to make sure that the figures on those tax forms were accurate. Attention to detail was also very important, with data entry being a large part of that position. Both skills have only grown since then, and they're a huge part of my current position at the University of Nebraska. Definitely things that I use every day.
What surprised you the most about the internship experience?
One of the good surprises I had when completed my internship was, an ability to really balance schoolwork in my position. Going into the internship, one of my main worries was being able to keep up with my academics, my work study position, and the internship. So what really worked for me was just becoming a more effective manager of my time. I did this by scheduling every day what I had to do, laying it out, making sure I was hitting all my deadlines, and just continuously refining my process of time management. By the end of the semester, I was happy with how well I adapted and was able to keep up with all those positions.
Yeah, I remember when I was in college and doing an internship, one of the things that surprised me the most was how much more I gained from my second internship. And I think it was because with the second time around, I was much more intentional with communicating with my supervisor. I remember just asking more questions, being asked if I could get involved in different projects or observe certain meetings. Doing that not only helped with fill in downtime, but also really increase the overall value of the experience itself. And I think that's an important thing to be aware of as a student, is that, when you're in an internship, your supervisor, although they're not only busy with supervising you through the internship, but they have this whole other side of their job that they're also responsible for. So it's really important as an intern to really kind of take that initiative and make sure that you're asking questions, get asked to get involved in projects. And, most of the time it can really make a difference in terms of the type of experience that you get from it. So did your internship have any influence on your career path?
Yeah, I would say so. The internship really did many things for me. It gave me valuable clarification on the direction I wanted to go professionally. It made me realize I didn't really want to be a tax accountant, which was all right. Even though I had gained these great interpersonal skills and felt very welcome there, It was time to move on to a different path, which is fine. Especially as a student, I didn't know what I wanted out of my professional career, but the internship program really helped focus me and refine what I wanted out of my life. It continues to benefit me today, really. Many of the things I learned in this internship, like, accuracy and data entry and valuable soft skills, are still with me.
Yeah, similarly, I agree with that. I remember in college, I loved what I was studying, but at that time, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my
Mm.
major. And I just remember back at, that internship really helped give me like a sense of direction in terms of where I was going to go in my field. So, um, so can you tell us, so why should students um, consider doing a service learning class or internship while still enrolled at Bristol before they
Mhm.
graduate or move on to a four-year institution?
Yeah, no, well, definitely, I would, strongly encourage any student really to, if given the opportunity, you'll grow professionally and personally from these experiences. Many people that graduate from both 2 and 4 year schools, lack these soft skills, the interpersonal communication, the working with a team, being able to be a, strong communicator in the workplace. This is really what employers look for. These foundational skills will give you a solid direction in your life and a huge leg up when it comes to ultimately applying for a job. So getting involved with either of these two programs, or even both of them, is a great opportunity. So consider these experiences before you move on to a 4 year institution. These programs help on application materials and can also really help refine your focus on your future. So being proactive with your education will provide many benefits down the road.
Do you have any final tips or advice that we didn't cover in the questions for students?
Yeah, definitely. So, if you have any interest, be sure to reach out to EEC staff. They can help you learn more about these programs, identify any sites of interest, and make sure your application materials are in order. And thank you, Pam, and thank you to the entire EEC staff for having me.
Andrew, you made several important points about the value of hands-on experience. The skills that you mentioned that you gained of communication,
Mhm.
teamwork, critical thinking are valuable to have no matter what field you're pursuing. And we can see through your successes that doing things like a service learning class or an internship really do make a difference. So I wanted to thank you for your time and your willingness to share. I know that this information is going to be helpful for Bristol students.